After the falling of justice, a new hero emerged.
What's up, y'all? We are here for a very special episode of Chat and Draw Fight Night. Get in your grill, get outside, put the dukes up. Who want the smoke? They want the smoke. I got the smoke. Who bringing the smoke? Cooking the smoke? There go the smoke is coming today. The smoke is on the goddamn table. All right. Not only is it Fight Night here at Chat and Draw, but it is the first virtual Indie Comics Dispatch Chat and Draw collaboration in the auditorium, which is now virtual. Understand that right now happening on the show. All right. I feel like I'm at a wrestling match and the Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin coming out. Look, this thing has had plenty of build up this week. It started off on the website for Indie Comics Dispatch. There was a whole vote going on for it, explaining who the characters were, where they came from, and all this. And you, the indie fan, got to vote on who you think will win. And that voting has closed. Tonight is the dance, the drawing dance. As I draw these two characters fighting, I'm gonna bring up my fellow co-host Brian here in a minute. He'll be co-hosting while I'm drawing this battle, and I'll chime in from time to time. And then we got two excellent competitors here. And then a little bit after this show, a couple days later, you're going to find out who won the vote. Not only are you going to find out who won the vote, but Brian's going to scribe a nice little story about how that character won. Let me tell you something. I just recently got associated with Brian this past year during the pandemic, and jumped on both of his Kickstarters for Nightfall. I'm telling you right now, it's going to be good. You want the writings. The writings are coming, and they're going to be fire. All right? So let's go ahead and bring up my man Brian right now. You know how we do that in regular chat and draw fashion.
Wait a second. A new opponent has interrupted the tournament.
And there he is. What's up, Brian? How you doing, man?
What's going on, Mike? How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, brother. I'm excited to be here for Fight Night. How you feel?
Man, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do this like you said, man. I really feel like I'm in a wrestling match too, so I'm gonna do my little wrestling promo. You know what I'm saying? I was sitting down one day, in the back cave, just thinking to myself, worrying about how I was gonna train, who was gonna be my next opponent. And I looked up, and through the light, I saw two men, but they said they were not gonna be my opponents. I was going to facilitate their battle. Two giants, two titans of our industry. They said, come down, Ryan, and come down and tell them what the battle is going to be. Tell them how it's going to go. Talk to these men. It's going to be Jibba Anderson, and it's going to be Tony Cottrell. And honestly, man, these guys are two really, really, really great guys. Since I got in the indie comics period, they just do some amazing things. Tony's got 23 titles. This dude's multiple awards. Jibba the same way, and this dude is in the Smithsonian. You know what I mean? Like these are epic, really titans of creators, and so it's really, really fun to be able to kind of pick their brain, talk about their characters, and I mean, everybody in indie comics is like, oh man, my character can take on Superman, or can they beat Goku? All the little things, right? So it's a little bit more fun when we get the fans kind of involved. We do it like a real media type of and get the parties involved as well, man. So we can ask some questions and really like dive into these characters that have come to the forefront in terms of indie, man. So I'm all for getting these two characters and these two creators into the virtual squared circle, so we can talk about it. Like I feel like Stone Cold in the referee shirt right now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's about to go down.
Absolutely. Tessa, I'm at a hotel right now because my kids are attending a birthday party. There's a sleepover at the hotel, and mom and dad are making sure that they stay awesome. That's what we do.
Responsibility right there.
Right. All right, so awesome. Let's go ahead and bring up our competitors. Let's get back to that branding, and I'm gonna give them the other Fight Night intro.
Here comes a new challenger.
Chill. I think it's time for me to save the day.
There we go.
Well, you had the wrestling thing going on, so
right.
you know.
Had to do that Ric Flair joke.
Let's start off with Jibba. Go ahead and introduce yourself, sir. Who are you? What do you do? And what character are you bringing to the bout tonight?
Okay, well, my name is Jibamole Anderson. I am the publisher of Griot Enterprises and the curator of its flagship title, The Horseman, as well as the curator for the 4 pages, 16 bars, a visual mixtape anthology series. Tonight, Griot Enterprises brings the speedster to the mix, the fastest member of the Horseman clan, the catalyst of change, the sister with 1,000 hands that you don't see coming. Oya, goddess of the wind and fire, to this battle.
Okay, all right.
Hey, Tony,
Yes,
you
sir.
better bring the
Yes, sir.
introduction, baby.
Hey, got
Hey.
to. He did it.
My man went into immediate promo. He was real business casual with his name. After talking to his character, he got down.
There it is.
Hold up. Oh, Tony, introduce yourself. Tell them who you are, where you're from, and who you bring it to the fight tonight.
I'm Tony Cottrell, and I'm representing Advent Comics. I am the head writer on Advent Comics. Titles such as Black Star Line, Blackfire, Titan Ultraman, and of course, we bring in the one and the only Ether, the unknown, unseen member of the Wu-Tang, because he bringing the hands with him when he come tonight. He is the molecular master of disaster known as Ether. He breaking bonds, breaking jaws, and breaking limbs. He's coming for you. He's coming. He will not be denied. And like Nas said, I will not lose. Great Ether.
Oh, really? It's just like that
Okay.
now. Okay. All right.
Hey, I'm sorry. I don't even know if the rest of the show can follow those
Right.
the molecular man of what?
Yes, sir.
Bars.
He bars everything in his past. He's breaking it down. To
Brian,
the very last time past.
I have to know. I have to know what you thought of those two introductions.
Look, yeah, I'm gonna circle back, but you had me at molecular master of disaster, right? Just to get that out with the flow. I was like, oh, okay. I was ready to drop a Nas Ether joke, and I was like, oh, he beat me to that too. And I like the Clark Kent Superman joint that Jibba hit us with. I'm Real Enterprises, and I do things, and so you know.
And then he just went into it. He went Man of Steel. Was like,
Yeah.
Absolutely,
man.
absolutely.
Hey, let me
Oh.
say, I'm honored to be here, Jibba. Like I said, man, you one of my heroes in the game. So just to be in the presence of a great character and a great person like yourself, man, I'm honored, bro.
Thank you so much.
But I'm still gonna come out on top, though.
Hey, that's just respect right there. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is on some De Niro, Pacino Heat type stuff. It's
There
like,
you go.
Yeah.
it's like, just so you know, like,
Right.
coming out there. You know?
If I gotta take you down,
Right.
All right.
Hey, I gotta come with a here in the Smithsonian, bro. Who can say that?
Hey,
Who can
right?
say that?
I don't know. I can't.
Right.
I can't. So look, all right. So before we get ready to dive into this piece, if you are new to the show of Chat and Drawing, you're tuning in for the first time. Chat and Drawing is our show where literally that's what happened. We're chatting, we're talking crap, we're about to have a good time and conversate and find out about these characters. But while that is happening, I'm going to attempt to draw both characters in fighting form fashion or whatnot. And before we dive into that, I want to shout out Comic Indie Dispatch for partnering up with us on this to help make this happen. Shout out to Brian for pulling those strings and even getting the ball jumping in that court. So tune in here. Make sure you check out What's Up, Dark? How you doing? Make sure you check out Indie Comics Dispatch website because we are going to be doing this on a regular basis. I got one plug before we get started. Today, I launched my Follow Me Kickstarter page. There is the link. People, please go in there, go check it out. Hit that follow button because this is the trade for Hot Shot. This book has been out for a while, and this is the combination of a lot of things that I have going on with Mr. Danny Cooper over at Freestyle Comics, the editor-in-chief. We about to bust the head out here in the comic game with some of the books. I've been inspired by my entire indie community, and we about to bring the noise. Hot Shot Trade Volume 1, Issue 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're bringing a new Issue 0 will be lettered. So if you've been following the book was a silent issue. This time it's lettered, and we got plenty of new content to come out there with it. So go ahead and fit that link, get the follow. And now we're about to get into fight night, man. The ball's in your court, Brian, sir.
Okay, so while we're doing shameless plugs, we're just gonna go ahead and do this because Mike and I are usually on the same page. So I also launched my follow page today for Justice Issue 2, guys. I don't have the link with me because I'm on my phone and I'm at work right now. So I'm working right now is what I should say. But if you go and search Wingless Comics on Kickstarter, we are there. The link is live. You will not be disappointed. And I also want to real quick give you two gentlemen kudos because the Indie Comics Dispatch has been kind of doing these battles for a little bit of time. This is obviously the first time we got together what Mike has called the Left Bumper Assist crew, where we're doing it online, you know what I mean, fully, and we're having these interviews and giving the chat draw piece and having this interview. And so they've been doing it, you know, again with the poll and the write-ups and stuff. I applaud you, gentlemen, because I like this battle for a couple of reasons. Obviously, like I said, you guys are titans in our market and in our industry. The second part about it is you have one hero that is human based, right? And it's organic based is what I mean. Excuse me. And then the other is like inorganic. So I love this kind of a battle because it's not a wash one way or the other. It's something, you know what I mean? Like they've got to really be use their ingenuity. So having said that. I'm gonna start with you, Jibba. How does Oya react? Like, how would she handle the situation? Not just like what her stats are, right? But how does she go into any fight?
Okay, so the best way that I want to describe Oya is sort of Oya is kind of like the baby sister of the Horseman. She is the youngest. In her goddess form, she is the youngest of the Orisha. In her human form, in the human family, she's the youngest of that family. What I found, you know, just in my own family and in other families in general, is that, you know, the youngest, the baby, has a little bit of an optimism that maybe the oldest doesn't have. Me being the oldest, you know what I'm saying? I'm the oldest of four siblings and whatnot. And coincidentally, my sister, she's the baby of all four of us, right? So so there's a certain bit of a warmth. There's a certain bit of it's not naivete, but there is this optimism and there's this sort of innocence. So she won't come in there swinging. However, keep in mind that she is the youngest of, you know, a family of gods. And if anybody who's been the youngest, you know, they have that optimism. At the same time, they got to know how to scrap, you know what I mean? To get their voice out there and get their, you know, to get their presence known and presence felt, right? So in terms of entering a situation, you know, Oya is not necessarily, you know, automatically going to throw hands. She's going to be cool in the beginning, but don't mistake that cool because quick, fast, in a hurry, you know what I mean? The other side will snap. Remember, she is the goddess of the wind. She is the goddess of fire. She is the catalyst of change. If you apply that to a verbal battle, that means she's going to roast your ass. 25.
I'm sorry. Sir, penalty on the play. Flag. You are not allowed to come that hard at the beginning of the show when I'm trying to do a layout. Sir, I mean, I appreciate the gusto, but that's a little disrespectful, sir.
I'm just spitting facts. So if you imagine a verbal roasting, imagine what happens when it gets physical. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Okay. I like that. And Tony, lately, I guess, because I don't necessarily want to ask the same questions, right? Because I want y'all to battle, but I love how eloquent you guys are, so I want to open up these battles. So, seeing as Ether is dealing with the inorganic, right? Mostly in molecule manipulation. How does he approach anything he does? I mean, that's a big and potentially destructive power set. So how does him being a hero? How does he approach that?
Like he does with everything else. Ether is the opposite of how he described Oya. Ether comes in a lot of times, guns blazing. He can be a hothead at times, and that's evident as you see him throughout the different appearances he's made. But he's so powerful, he relies on his powers and his skill set to bring him through. So when he come in the door, he gonna be like Biggie. He kicking in the door. He don't care who it is. So with her coming in with her skill set, he feels she can't give me none.
Another flag. We got another flag.
All right, so I just want to know. So we just gonna be dropping bars all night. My man pulled a Biggie reference.
Kicking in the door with the 4-4. She gonna be yelling, "Ether, don't hit me no more."
Dude. Straight. Look, hey, this already the best versus match we ever had. It's just straight heat. I love it. If I stop you, I'm just trying to acknowledge how dope the little comeback was. I'm back to the pad.
No, but seriously, Ether's mentality. Ether, when he was a young man, he had a lot of angst and stuff in his life. Ether would be a conspiracy theorist. He believes in Big Brother's always watching, whatever, woo woo. So he's always coming with something. He's like, all right, they're gonna come after me, so I'm gonna be right there meeting them with full guns blazing. He's that type of guy. He's always in it that way. So when Oya bring the pain, which I'm sure she will, he's gonna respond in kind. Like I said, he can mess with atomic and molecular bonds of all matter, inorganic and organic. So this will be a test for him. This will definitely be a test for him because he's never gone up against a god before. Well, no, I take that back. God Cell 1. He's gone up against a couple gods, but this is going to be a whole nother level. It's going to be a whole nother level.
That's so convenient how he forgot that he went up against a god just to rebut.
Right.
Brian, you see the disrespect in that?
He never had wait a minute.
I felt the disrespect of that. Like, I felt the disrespect when he said, like, my man was going to come in like Biggie, kick in the door. You know what I'm saying? Blase's police, It's like, I wanted to counter, like, oh yeah, it's going to come in like that Bahamadia right quick.
Hold up real quick.
With a little bit of that Rhapsody up in that mix. You know what I'm saying?
Shout out. Hold on one second, y'all.
That means
shout out to
that MC Light. Shut the F up.
Hold up. Shout out to Queen. Thanks so much. I appreciate you. She was doing a stream and she just rated us on Twitch and sent all her followers to watch us. So shout out to Queen right there. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Oh yeah, that's real big.
All new viewers. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Trash talking continue. I just got to thank people when they do stuff like that.
So I want to ask, right? Because we know what we do is more than just writing or drawing or even curating, right? Like we don't, as Black creators, we don't have the luxury of just doing something that's kind of off kilter for the sake of off kilter. I mean, we can, right? But we carry a little bit more responsibility in everything we do, and obviously with the amount of titles that you both put out and the amount of hearts and minds you change in this industry, you guys have done that your entire careers. So my question, and either one of you can come because it's a kind of a two-parter. How much of our shared history as a Black culture, and how much of your personal history goes into these characters? Jibba, you mentioned being the oldest of 4, and having siblings, and Tony, you mentioned coming from the neighborhood. How much of that stuff do you guys infuse into your stories?
Go ahead, Jibba. You go ahead, bro.
Well, you know what? Actually, when I created the Horsemen, and was thinking about their secret identities, if you will, the human identities and whatnot. Initially, I was like, well, okay, I could like think of personalities, I could kind of cobble together personality traits, that sort of thing. But what I actually did is I kind of looked around in the people of my life and sort of kind of looked at them in terms of how do I define this team? How do I work out the personalities of this team? Just so happens that, you know, in my friend family / real family, you know, there were 7 of us. It's myself, my younger brother, my god brother, his wife and her sister, and a couple of their friends. One of them, I wound up being in a relationship for a while. All of this was happening when I was establishing Griot Enterprises and coming up with the Horsemen, which initially was like, that was part of my thesis at the School of the Art Institute of Chicago. So in terms of personalities and in terms of bringing that home, I was kind of like JJ in the series finale of Good Times when he finally got out of the ghetto because he got into the comic book industry, and the character that he created was based on Thelma, you know, based on his sister. So the Horseman is kind of like that. You know what I mean? In terms of like the personalities, you know, they're based off of my people and whatnot. So definitely, you know, there's a lot of myself and my, you know, and definitely my viewpoints on life, and definitely, you know, how I look at the world and that sort of thing. And all of that goes into telling the story of the horse. You know, I'm not. I remember how you talked about it earlier. How as Black creators, there seems to be like some of these expectations, or you know, or things that I see on you know, our Facebook group pages that I don't see anywhere else, right? I see a lot of ads, you know, they talk about, well, you know, they try and figure out how to be a success before even trying to put you know, pencil one on paper, or, you know, drag the stylus, or even try and start writing their books, right? They, you know, they waste time talking about demographics and, you know what I mean, and audiences and what the audience wants, so on and so forth. Fact of the matter is that when you're getting into this game, you don't have an audience.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Like there is nobody for you to impress there. You don't have people that are necessarily waiting for your book to come out. Sort of thing. You know what I mean? So it's like, why waste time thinking about other people when this is your story? And literally, as this is your story, you can tell whatever story you want to tell.
Indeed.
So first and foremost, like, yeah, think about your story. And then secondly, personally for me, is that it only works and it only resonates with audiences if they feel you in the story and they're picking up what you're laying down. You know what I mean? That's what also limits, you know, the DC or Marvel knockoffs that, you know, a lot of people want to create, or even the anime knockoffs or manga knockoffs that, you know, a lot of people talk about creating, that sort of thing. You know, so personally for me, I'm like, you need to bring yourself into the mix, and you need to bring your entire self into creating comics in order for it to resonate, in order for it to work. Because at the end of the day, yes, this is a business, but this is a creative business. And first and foremost, in a creative business, you have to be creative.
There you go.
Yep.
There you go. I agree with everything he said. And as a matter of fact, I truly bring myself into it because my character Titan is basically based off my life. Not so much as just a superhero. We shared the same profession. He's a firefighter. I'm a firefighter. but I even brought personal into Titan. People said, is this anything real? Yeah, it's real. My real life story of me and my exes in Titan, going through the courts to get possession of my kids. That was in Titan. I mean, a whole bunch of real stuff I brought to the table, as well as bringing my coworkers into the mix, which they love being in the book. So everything you see is a part of me mixed in with the creative aspect. So if you see a character who's running around and he loves rap music like I do, I mean, I put bits and pieces of everything I do in all my titles. But like I said, Titan is the one that's really basically a semi-autobiography on my life, down to the T. So you'll see a lot more personal things in Titan that relate to me. If you see it, and a lot of guys would send me letters after I wrote Titan and was like, "Bro, that was real." They was like, "I've never seen that in a comic book before. Nobody's ever gone to court to fight for their kids or gone through personal problems and get divorced." I put all that in the comic book, man. That was relief for me, stress relief, in order to move on and deal with the situations. I put it in the comic book.
Mm-hmm.
So
I wanted to throw out there real quick, Tony. That's one of the things that I liked about the piece that we ultimately put in volume 6, a 4 pages, 60 bars, Soulmate.
Soulmate, yeah.
Yeah. I love the fact, when we went through the back and forth and whatnot, I love the fact that it was a love story. You know what I mean? It had, of course, it had that little bit of a super heroic vein to it, but I love the fact that it was a love story, that it was different. You know what I mean? From what we see from a lot of cats, putting out there or wanting to put out there. And that was the thing that attracted me to that project. That was the reason why I wanted it in 4 pages, 16 bars, because with this project, with the 4 pages, 16 bars project, it's way more than just like, oh, look at, we got Black people doing comics, whatever. It's about us doing great comics and us doing things that, we feel, right? And we feel are important, and really bringing forth like the art of comics along and showing how much that we as Black folk, as brown folk, as other people of color, like how much we have influenced and flexed in this industry and can still flex in this industry, right? Like one of the illest books that I got this year was that book Invisible Men. Y'all know about that book?
Yeah.
Invisible Men. Like, and the reason why I felt like that book was so profound is that on one hand, they call them invisible men in the comic book industry. But reading that book and you read their biographies, those cats did so much side of comics, right?
Yes.
You have one cat doing stuff for the Franklin Mint. You had all of these cats out here doing, design work for the civil rights movement and, for political activism and things of that nature. And when I read that book, and I sat down afterwards, I was like, you know what? I'm one of those invisible men. Because of the fact that I looked at their careers and I looked at what I'm doing in my career, and I'm like, man, you know what I'm saying? Like we're on this, I'm carrying on a tradition, right? That has been there since the beginning of the industry. And that's another thing, like a lot of these young bucks who will talk about, want to do comics, want to do Black comics, so we need this, we need that, blah, blah, blah. It's like, y'all ain't talking about anything new. You know what I mean? Number one. Number two, it's like you are not the visionary revolutionary. You are part of a tradition. And I think if more cats read about the history of Black creators and actually sought out Black creators and see what has been going on, even in the mainstream, because I guarantee you a lot of these cats don't know how many brothers and sisters are actually working in the industry right now, and that have worked in the industry in the past, right? And they definitely don't know like the cats who have like been blazing trails, right, in this business. Like another thing that I love about the series, the anthology series, is that it also has me researching our history and meeting other cats who've researched our history, Black comics history. And the fact that, there's so much more to unearth and there's so much more to learn. And I feel that, a lot of cats, they need to study up. You need to study the craft before you try to get into the craft, right? And so hopefully 4 pages, 16 bars is part of that discussion, part of that history, you know what I mean? Part of that understanding of the craft, and also an inspiration to anybody wanting to do it, anybody that has their own vision to do it. They see that we do it, and above and beyond us working for DC or Marvel, of which, a number of the contributors of the project have been worked on, have or are working, for the corporate too and stuff like that. I think cats really need to see, like, you don't need to work at the corporate too right now to be a success. As a matter of fact, working at the corporate too is not necessarily a detriment to your success, but it is not the all be all of your career, right? Like, especially nowadays, cats aren't going to remember you as the artist of Batman or Superman. It's a different era, right? We don't have Wizard Magazine anymore with the top 10 artists or writers or anything of that nature. On top of that, it's so democratic now with print on demand, with crowdfunding, you know what I mean? That sort of thing. Now at this point, we have to be business people. And that is how you are going to make it in this game, is that if you have not only the talent, but if you have the drive and you also educate yourself on the business, you can have a successful career. And excuse me for pontificating for so long on it. I just,
Well, so what? I think I'm the youngest in this game out of the 4 of us. There's some things that I wish I would have learned, and I wish, I could have heard that speech when I first started. I don't think that it hindered me too much, but I can imagine how far I would have been, outside of that if I was ready to listen. Because I'm waiting for next month, and we get the post where somebody's like, yeah, we could be a Black image if we would all get together, and you know what I mean? Every month and a half it comes up. So I feel like it's just a little bit, and it's like I don't need to hear that again. It's always somebody with no infrastructure, no printing, no publishing, no distribution, no anything. Let's be a Black image. Like, that's not work.
Right.
So I agree with you wholeheartedly, man.
Right.
Let's get back to this battle. So I got this one for you, Tony.
Okay.
Ryan said y'all are going to choose violence one way or another.
Right. Look,
There
man,
is no unity today.
Is all about it. So Tony, we heard that Oya is basically a change agent, right? And he is a vessel of change. So both of them have a lot of similarities, philosophically, if nothing else. Now, Ether being a conspiracy theorist, and again being philosophically linked to what she stands for, could you see this battle turning another way, and her affecting his heart with her optimism?
Oh, definitely. He'll take some away from it. His partner per se is the hero Blackfire, and he's learning a lot from her to smooth out the rough edges. So I'm quite sure meeting the actual goddess and seeing, okay, she not only she coming with the power in the hands, I can learn from her too, because how she carries herself is what he ultimately wants to be.
Gotcha. I can see it as well. I could see in the fight. What I could actually see is that the fight starts from a misunderstanding,
right?
And based on Ether's personality, it's like something Oya would say, just get him out of pocket.
And that's how it would go.
Yeah, and he get mad for no reason.
Yeah.
And for a hot second, while he's getting mad, she's like, what is this? Wait, okay, I'm done trying to reason with it. It's not gonna work.
Exactly how it goes. And my head, I was thinking the same thing. I was like, yeah, he's gonna pop off and he's gonna get into it. It's gonna be rough. And he's gonna think she ain't nothing to play with. And he's going to come with it.
Right. I think we already knew what was gonna happen.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. That's definitely where I was. I was like, I'll see what this poll says, but I can see how the personalities and the personality traits kind of link up, which is a really, really, really good thing. Okay, so now this is the big stuff, right? Without going too far. Now, is Ether Team Cap or Team Iron Man?
Ooh.
Ether for real, with his time spent in the system, he would never be Team Cap. As much as, well, depends. We talk Steve Rogers Cap, we talking Falcon Cap.
No, okay, so this is what I'm going to ask you, because I'm going to challenge you on that one. As soon as you said it, I'm talking about Civil War Cap team.
Okay.
MCU Civil War Cap team. Civil War Cap or Stark.
He would definitely never be Stark. He would never be down with the system. He spent time in the system. One of his I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. Ether is tied into another character when he was younger. A character, street level character. He spent time growing up in DC. So Jerome Nails Williams is Ether's real name. You're gonna see that character appear in some other books. Southside. He spent time on the streets. He spent time in the system. He went on vacation a few times. So he would never be with the system. So Stark wouldn't have it at all. He would be Team Cap, not so much as Cap the man, because Ether wouldn't follow what Captain America is bringing per se, not Steve Rogers Cap, but he would be bucking the system is why he would be Team Cap.
Okay. I got a real quick question, and I'm gonna get to you, Jim. I'm sorry, but this brought it up for me, and this is a personal thing here, right? So when we talk about Captain America, what's the difference symbolically, right? And I'm not talking about for us, but if we're in universe, symbolically, what's the difference between a Sam Wilson Cap and a Steve Rogers Cap? MCU again.
It's a brother. He definitely would support the brother first. Ether is all about supporting the brothers. Now, a lot of people might not like me saying that, but Ether is that type of character. Ether is all about protecting our own. He would go to bat for our own, and if our own was jacked up, he let them know that too, and he pull his coattail. But Sam would get more of Ether's initial respect than Steve Rogers would off the break, because he a black man doing this. He throwing himself out there. Then he probably tell him about himself and tell him about the history of America, why he shouldn't be Cap, but he would give Sam that support first.
I respect that. Jibba, what about you, sir?
Okay, so actually Oya would neither be Team Cap nor would she be Team. She would actually be Team T'Challa.
Ooh.
Okay.
Because of the fact that with the Horsemen, in the world of the Horsemen, they are not necessarily looked at as heroes. They are a disruptive element in the way that things have gone. Okay. In the world of the Horsemen, actually, Earth, our dimension, is dominated and ruled by 8 other, shall we say, mythic figures, the deities, as I call them. And the deities, as opposed to, gods back in the day being like the god of the sun, the god of the moon, that sort of thing. These cats are like, the god of politics, and the god of organized religion, and the god of industrialization, and the goddess of war, and the goddess of death, and the god of lust and things of that nature. So they've got the world in sort of a grip. You know, they basically get their worship off of our chaos, and they actively foment that chaos in order for us, in order to stop us from reaching our true potential, right? Because they're actually messing up on something that they're supposed to do. Okay, when the Horsemen return to our plane of existence, they are completely upending the system because they have to prepare the Earth. Like, we're off our mission. Like, there was some stuff that we need to do that we are woefully behind on, and so the Horsemen are here to like get us back into shape. All right, because of that, it is in direct conflict with the powers that be, which doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? In terms of the discussion of blackness in the world of the Horsemen, instead of like necessarily, you know, showing, definitely I don't show black pain per se. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily about showing black joy. The Horseman is about black power and what happens when people have the power to change the world. And that's what the Horsemen are doing. They're changing the world. You know, they're changing the world for the better, whether we like it or not. And so there is in direct conflict, you know, with the powers that be. As a matter of fact, I'm working on the next Horseman book called Manifest Destiny, and you will see for real how much they've changed the world. Like, basically, I'm writing a story about the end of a country and the end of an empire and the psychological death of that empire as they see a new world being born that they can't control. So at the end of the day, Oya is not Team Cap, it's not Team Tony. She's definitely Team T'Challa. It's like, we're building this better world. We have this other world, and you're gonna deal with it whether you like it or not. So
that was a masterful and a master class. If you guys weren't watching, I would not need everybody run this back, because that was a master class on evasion. But I'm definitely gonna nail this down. I'm definitely we're gonna circle right back, right? Because I know my MCU. So okay, if that's the case, remember that T'Challa was not originally with Stark.
Right. No,
he was in the airport scene.
He was a neutral figure.
We're in the airport scene.
Right. He was after Bucky.
Is she rocking with Panther and Stark in order to take down Bucky?
Okay, in that respect, no, she's not. She's rocking with Cap. In that respect, you know what I mean. Okay. In the respect of government control, you know what I mean. Because we know the dark side of government control, she would not be signing the Accords. You know,
I feel like honestly, she would be. She plays that. She would, again, in universe. We're putting her in there. I see her as that Black Widow type character, that she's there to do her thing, but ultimately, like, what's best overall, is where she would go. Am I right in thinking that? But whereas Black Widow stopped T'Challa, she wouldn't. She would be the person helping him.
Is she a Black Widow type of character? She does not have red in her ledger. if you know, if that's the thing, she's definitely way more. Like I said, she's way more optimistic. If anything, what would happen is, like, yeah, if she knew stuff was going on, you know what I mean, like a deeper story and things of that nature, she would probably use her speed to just end the whole thing as quickly as possible. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, just smack everybody else. Everybody else that needs to be smacked. Right. You know what I mean? Like, sit your ass down. I took all your weapons. You know what I mean? Now let's figure this shit out before it gets ugly. That's her vibe.
Okay. I can respect that. I think that, again, man, I see so many similarities in these characters, and I like them both. There's so much that you can really do, and I think that that's one of the things that Um, I try to separate maybe indie comics and good indie comics, right? And I know that sounds like a little elitist and can be a little elitist sometimes, but I think we all know that there are some indie comics and then there are some better ones. And I think that some of your better ones uh, give other people playgrounds, and that's where you get to use your imagination, right? It's with a I'm gonna say subpar, but a single tier indie comic, yeah, that's great, but it's very hard to imagine yourself in those positions and to see the further stories. With work like you guys do, it's very easy to see. When I see Malone from Southside, I'm like, okay, what's happening next? What's his next story? But I mean, I've read the first two volumes of The Horseman, and I did reviews on them because I admired the books. So you can see the world set up and the next thing that's going to happen. So I think that that's a credit to what you guys do. Do you, either one of you, make a conscious effort to invite your readers in to enjoy the world? You brought up, some of the manga, copies and stuff like that. And I think one of the best things about anime and manga is that they invite you into this world that they've created. My Hero Academia is a great example of it. Seven Deadly Sins, there are a ton of them, right? But you can always see yourself reflected in some of these characters. Whether or not they look like you, that don't even matter. But you can see yourself reflected in the things that they're doing, things that they're going through. My question for you guys, and not just as a factor of these two characters, though, is do you set out to invite your readers and your supporters and your fans into the world so they can envision themselves in there? Because you're already in there. You've already said that you're in there. Your heart and soul is in these worlds. Are you inviting to, I guess, tether your fans and your supporters to that too?
That's a good question. I do make the Horseman sort of. I'm trying to answer your question the best way possible because I think that there are a couple of answers to it. I think that from the comic book standpoint and the whole idea that Jim Shooter said back in the day when he was editor of Marvel, that you have to treat every comic like somebody's first comic and things of that nature. Excuse me, I do something with every issue. In the beginning, you have the tagline, they have returned to save humanity from itself, whether they like it or not, for who controls the eight immortals, but the number 7, they are the Horsemen. And I have like a little who's who sheet, that sort of thing. And then, I bring them into the story, right? So I have that aspect of it so they know who they are. Now, in terms of the aspect of people feeling like they can see themselves in the Horseman world, one of the things about the Horseman world is that the Horseman world truly is a multicultural world. And it's not multicultural in the sense of how people are dealing with multiculturalism now, like trying to, check off a list and that sort of thing. You know what I mean? It was an organic thing for me. It wasn't like I'm doing this to gain more readers or anything like that. Because once again, going back into bringing myself into the world, my personal life, I have friends from across the globe. And I'm not talking about like, oh, I have a black friend or white friend like they talk about a coworker. I mean, no, like people that I broke bread with, you know what I mean? That we slept on each other's couches, you know what I'm saying? That we've been to people's weddings. We've even cried with them at their funerals, that sort of thing. You know what I mean? My people, or the students that I've taught throughout, my years as a teacher. I taught and I've been around people all over the world. I've been around people with different cultures, different religions, from different countries, so on and so forth, right? And also being the child of an immigrant, being the child of an African immigrant, I also understand that immigrant story. You know what I'm saying? So finding out the commonalities between us as opposed to differences. I bring that into the Horseman. So it's like, especially with this new project coming out, Manifest Destiny, this is where you will truly see the international scope of, shall we say, Shango's actions from the first couple of books. You know, when we really see the manifest now, we are going to see that the manifest are beings literally from across the globe. And that just gives me more opportunity to play with and deal with other mythologies, and by that nature lets me know more about cultures and that sort of thing. So yeah, so that, you know, the world is inclusive, you know what I mean? Everybody's got a space in there.
I tend to do that too. And I always say that anything can happen in the Advent universe, because it's something that I am setting out, not just to tell my own story or stories, but I want everyone else to feel that they are vested in these characters and these stories as well, and that they can see bits and pieces of themselves or people they know, or just things that they can say, hey, okay, I can relate to this, I can relate to that in those stories. So long story short, yes, I try to make it open for everyone to enjoy it. And that's why I say our comics for everybody. And I try to make sure that we get our comics in the hands of as many different people as possible. That's why I go to the ends of the Indiegogos, the Kickstarters. I want to put my hands into everyone who loves comics' hands. No matter if you're white, you're black, you're yellow, brown, purple, whoever. I want you to enjoy our comic books. So that's what I set out to do.
Hey, Tony, you know what would help with getting your comic books in more people's hands and expand that?
What's that?
You just go ahead and let me write that Southside one shot.
Oh,
Just throw that out there again. Boom, boom, boom. Never gonna drop it.
Because what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna hit all three of y'all over the head at one point. I'm gonna have you write Southside. Jib, I'm gonna have the Horseman appear within the Advent universe. And Mike, I ain't forgot about you, bro. I've been chasing you down because I want you in a specific issue of one of my books. I want Hot Shot, bro. I want Hot Shot.
Man, as long as we know that.
Yeah.
You know. Okay, so let's get into the real stuff, and I'm gonna give my opinion first, only because I'm the host and I want to shut up as quickly as possible. We know we've got a great battle here, but we know we are obviously all nerds. Has everybody watched Falcon and the Winter Soldier? I believe we all have. I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So,
chat, if you have hold up, chat, if you have not seen Falcon and Winter Soldier, I'm giving you right now warning. This is your warning.
Spoilers.
Spoilers right now. This will be spoilers. So look, flip the hat backwards.
Because it's going down.
It's about to go down. All right.
Well, they know.
Hold up. Wait. Let me do this one thing. Make sure, because I don't want to hear nobody mouth. I don't want to hear nobody's mouth.
Yeah, I didn't tell us. Yeah, man, we told you.
Yeah, right. You know.
This is gonna take me 1 second. Let me.
He put the breaking news on the
bottom.
Spoiler zone.
Oh,
spoiler zone.
Right. You know, you should have a little thing says up. You know, this next material may be sent to
right.
some viewers.
Boom, boom,
yeah,
boom.
You go.
Right.
There you go.
Okay.
Hey, free and
All
clear.
Right. Put it out.
Okay.
Put it out.
So I will say I love Falcon and the Winter Soldier for what it was. And I'm gonna say this also live again. Man, I told y'all that she was the power broker. I said it in episode 1, and people were doubting me, and I was like, I don't understand. This is what I do for a living. She's obviously the power broker.
And that's why I apologize to you, because I was like, Marvel's not gonna make it that obvious in that plane. And I was like,
as soon as she showed up, and then they said some ominous name.
But I also thought about it. You also know there's a lot of scrolls on the planet, and we got special secret invasion.
Secret invasion popping up.
So that could be a scroll. That could be a plant.
You know, and I will say, my boy John Allen said the same thing. He inboxed me like, "What you think, man? She might be a scroll." So I want to see how it pans out. Now,
I want to see how it pans out too.
I find it hard to believe that Sharon would be that upset from.
Well, look, man. Well, I'm upset. I'm sorry. I'm upset at that myself, because I believe Sharon Carter has the same kind of spirit that Steve Roger has.
Yeah, later for Steve, I'm thinking about her think about her Aunt Peggy. Like, you know what I'm saying?
But
Like,
at the same time, this is the same Sharon Carter that did shoot Steve. You know what I mean in the comics. Like she's not like the
yeah, but she was mind controlled to shoot him though.
Right.
Like, come on, man.
So,
Come
but
on,
she's not now. That's all I'm saying. All I'm saying is there's always a bailout. Is what I mean. You know what I mean? Like there's always they're gonna give us a reason why. I don't think it's only because she got the country turned its back on her. It's not that simple.
Yeah.
Like the reason is gonna be better.
Yeah. Well, also, I think this is one of the things I was thinking about the MCU, right? And I was thinking about that turn with Sharon. And what I realized about that turn was that that's just my disappointment. you know what I mean? in the character, you know what I'm saying? Not like the writers, but this is how good the writers are. It was like, Karen, no.
Right.
What would Peggy say?
Right.
What would Peggy say?
Yeah.
Come on, girl. You been
that much.
Your aunt's been in rougher spots before. Come on, girl. Right. She didn't have her man for 96 years. All right. Come on. Like that's how I felt about that turn. The show, period, I loved it. And I also loved the fact that I know we are, cats are lamenting, the loss of Chadwick Boseman still. You have people like doing petitions to recast the Black Panther, which I think A, will go nowhere. B, I think that's dumb because C, Ryan Coogler himself said that's not what I'm going to do. And unless you are cutting that check, that Disney Marvel check, unless you are in the writing room, you know what I mean? Like, you need to just sit your ass down and deal with that, because in the fandom respect, it's not about you. You got to remember that, like, these people, the whole cast and crew of Black Panther, that was their guy.
Yeah.
Still mourning.
Dude, did you see that clip with Paul Bettany, man, when they were doing press for
WandaVision?
For Endgame. No, for Endgame. And he leans over because Chadwick looks like he's asleep. Or whatever. And he leans over like, hey, man, are you okay? And stuff that you didn't really notice. It just looks innocuous at the time. But like looking back and knowing that he was sick, and then certain people knowing he was sick, checking on him and stuff. And it's a beautiful clip. It's real 7 seconds, nothing. But it speaks to the relationship that Marvel and that whole crew and those whole teams had with them. Yeah. Also, I feel like give it one movie at least, bro. Like they just said they said specifically they're not gonna recast for number 2. Like see what happens with number 3 and then move on. You know what I mean? Like, come on, let number 2 ride.
Exactly. They're like, oh, our only Black hero that we've ever had in life has gone, and it's a whole conspiracy by the man. Excuse my French, shut the fuck up. Like,
I'm glad I'm not the only one. Thank you. I'm glad I'm not the only one.
For real, like, shut up. Like, I was thinking about this just yesterday. I'm like thinking about, what has Marvel done in the 12, 13 years in terms of the superheroes they gave us on the big screen? It's like, okay, War Machine, check. All right, Falcon, check. Okay, Luke Cage, check. Okay, Black Panther, check. Okay, Monica Rambeau, check. Like we good. You know what I'm saying? Like good with that.
I'm officially taking the ticker down because we moved on. So I'm taking the ticker down.
No, we going back. Don't trip. We're going right back.
Yeah, we're going back.
I'm not done. I'm not done.
Because,
no.
And what I love about Falcon and Winter Soldier, and I am glad that Marvel, Disney put their foot down, and it was like, yo, Captain America's black. Captain America is black with Sam. You know what I mean? With Sam Wilson in it, and it's not going back. It's not like the next movie he's gonna give the shield to Bucky. That's not happening. Right. But Captain America in the MCU is a black man, and I'm here for it. 100%.
Did you guys notice in the subtitles, it said Sam's name in the subtitles all the way up to the point that he introduces himself as Captain America, and the subtitles switch over to Captain America.
And Winter Soldier. That was the period on it. Like Marvel was like, no, this is Captain America. It's a wrap. And I love, I mean, as of course, as many brothers and sisters have saw that speech, you know what I mean, that he put out there, like, you know what, Sam, as Captain America, you could speechify, because Captain America gave speeches, and people listen to Captain America when he gave speeches. So go ahead, you know, because the first episode, you couldn't get that loan, but goddamn it, now you got the shield. You won't let these people know. You tell them about it.
So I wanted to like the speech a lot more than I did, but I feel like, well, I like the direction. What I didn't like about some of the series in general, right? Well, a couple times Sam didn't act like a black person at all, and people had to tell him what the black experience was, which I thought was kind of awkward. But it is what it is. I get that. That's a writing thing. Yeah. I also think that his speech was a little ham-fisted. I'm glad he gave it, right? But I think it was like a little. They got in everything, and it's politics, and I'm black, and you know what I mean. He hit 19 levels. I really wanted, and I'm hoping in Captain America 4 he gets to give the Captain America Optimus Prime speech. You know what I mean? Like Optimus Prime really gets to give speeches where he's like, "We're gonna go fight these other robots," and you get so passionate about it that you're like, "Yeah, let's go fight these other robots." And I think Sam was denied a little bit of the passion there. If not the content.
Well, you know what? I have to disagree with that, and I have to disagree with that because part of that is a writing consideration. You know what I mean? Because again, you have to think about, like, with the MCU, they're not just writing to us when they have a black character, right? Like they're writing everybody, and point blank period, like, white folk don't know how to deal with this new world right now. Exactly. Like they really don't. You know what I'm saying? Like the whole notion of this post-Trump, even though the problem is still there, right? Mm-hmm. But the thing about it is that the problem now cannot be ignored. The problem is shoved down their throats because of the pandemic. Like they had to sit there and deal with it, right? And even in the complaints about, the end of Falcon, Winter Soldier and stuff like that, it is the complaint that we are now not centered. And so now there is a problem. Now now we feel discriminated against because we're not centered. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And I think like that speech they needed to hear that. No, you are not centered. That doesn't mean that, that doesn't mean that we hate. It's just like, look, you've got a whole bunch of stories, right? Don't be mad because we are not concerned about your needs when we tell ours. You know what I mean? And especially after I saw the end of Falcon Winter Soldier, the backlash from that, I'm like, oh, if that pissed you off, wait till you read what happened to Horseman Manifest Destiny, because that's going to make you really upset what I'm about to do. You know what I mean?
Another part that I think is not hard to digest, right? But it was kind of glossed over. And this, again, is a writing thing. John Walker just murdered somebody. And then we're just like, well, okay. Well, I feel like he should have remained villainous. I know he's going to be a villain. Obviously, like, we all know what's going to happen in the U.S. agent stuff. But with as ham-fisted as they were with some things, why not be that way with the things that were important? Not important. And I mean important story-wise. I'm not talking about socioeconomically or anything else, right? I mean, like, story-wise, don't absolve him of his crimes, which you have at this point.
Right.
Story-wise, I'm going to take it back to the end of Endgame. When Cap got the shield, I know me personally, I was like, bro, I was almost shedding tears because that was powerful for a black character to be taking the forefront like that. Mm-hmm. Disney, I got to give them props because they doubled down on that. They were like, okay, we know y'all don't like that the black man's going to be Captain America. So when the Falcon Winter Soldier came out, They were like, nah, we gonna show you. Not only did we give him the shield, we're gonna make him Captain America per se. They should have to show you Sam growing into that role. Sam didn't feel he was worthy of it, but they showed everyone, including his detractors, not only was he worthy of it, he's gonna make a damn good Captain America, and that's something that y'all gonna have to get used to because he's here and he ain't going nowhere. But also the fact that they put a stamp on it and they shine the light. And you say they was hand-fisted, and I agree. But to be honest, there are some people who, even though it's shown to
you just got a hand.
it's already shown to them what the deal is. You can show it to them in movies. You can show it to them in video clips going back as far as Rodney King. You can tell them 1,000 times for 500 years what it is. But sometimes you got to hit them over the head with it. And that's what Disney did. They were like, okay, it's here. You're going to deal with it. Don't be whining because Sam is black and Captain America is black. It's a new day. It's all inclusive. And this is what it is. So, I mean, they did. And actually, I was proud of Disney for putting Isaiah not only in the story.
Yes.
When they put him
Carl Lumley's job
alongside
playing
Cap,
Isaiah was amazing.
That was it for me.
And they completely honored the truth storyline. Like people were mad. Like people were like, "Oh, we needed to see that story." I'm like, "No, we didn't, because he told us that story." You know what I mean? If you want to see that story, read Truth, because literally he told the story of truth in that. If you want to see that story, and I love that. I also loved how in the MCU they apologized to Isaiah in a way that the comic book universe didn't.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Comic book, they tried to do it in the comic book universe in a slight way when Black Panther married Storm. Isaiah showed up.
Right.
But that wasn't enough for me. But
that was tacit at that point. It was like, okay, we're gonna tack this on. And it is what it is, you know.
And it was like, and it's like, oh, look at that, you know. I mean, well, also the story as well. It's like, you know, the debilitating effects of the serum and how, you know, he was incapacitated at the end. I mean, I got it at the time, you know what I mean, because they're talking about a bootleg, you know, superpower, you know. So I understand that that's true. But I loved how in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Isaiah becomes that mentor figure. He becomes a mentor Captain America to Sam in a way that Steve could never be. And I love the fact that, you know, Sam learned from the black Captain America. And he took what he needed and he threw away what wasn't needed. You know what I'm saying? And I also love that at the end, yes, you know, Isaiah's story was wrong and it was bitter and he was bitter about it. But I love that when he saw Sam as Cap, he was like,
okay, you did
he's
good,
yeah. And thank you. You know what I mean? It was like a thank you and an apology. You know what I mean?
Indeed.
Yeah. So Justin, he got it.
I want to pause y'all real quick and let y'all know these characters fun as hell to draw.
Oh, cool.
Cool. Thank you. I appreciate that. I got a question, and I got a question for Tony. So, you being a writer, right? How much input did you have in the character designs?
A lot. A lot of these characters go back to when I was like 10, 11 years old. I got like a binder with almost, it's got about 2,000 characters in it. So I dusted off a lot of these characters and I sent them to artists. Now there's some artists who jazzed them up a little bit from what I designed, which is cool. I love it. But all the characters I pretty much designed myself.
Okay, so that they stay on model and all that.
Yep.
Because one of the
draw, I would love to have half the talent that you and Mike have at drawing, but I can draw rudimentary anatomy just enough to get the artist to say, okay, this is supposed to look like this. Okay, that's supposed to look like that.
Gotcha. That was I wanted to ask that question because one of the things when I initially created the Horseman was that I wanted to create, silhouettes and create designs that had that, unique appeal that really spoke to the individuality of the character, but something that I could, that I wouldn't get tired of drawing over and over and over again. You know what I mean? Because there are times I will have a tendency with some of my characters, they got what you call it, they got accessories, and I'm not talking about like 90s accessories where everybody had 155,000 pouches and
about characters like Ogun
and guns and stuff like that. Yeah, but with me and like in terms of like my costume design and sensibilities and things of that nature, I look a lot at beyond the union suit of what I like to call superhero costumes, a union suit. I look at a lot of fashion and stuff like that, like cutting edge fashion, and also ethnic fashion or fashion from different cultures and things of that nature and whatnot. And so my stuff can get intricate. You know what I'm saying? But with the Horseman, I wanted to keep the designs as simple as possible. The crazy thing about it, though, is that the simple characters I find the most frustrating.
Oh, really? The most frustrating?
The most frustrating because of the fact that I have nowhere to hide as an artist. Like for instance, Oshun, right? Oshun is composed of light. In other words, that's just a human body for the most part. I ain't got nowhere to hide. I ain't got nowhere to hide with no shadows. I ain't got nowhere to hide with no flow, no cape or anything like that. That's just her. So if the drawing is not right about her, you know what I mean? It's just not right. It's just like, Ogun too. Yeah, you think Ogun was somewhat simple to draw, but every time I go into Ogun, I'm like, I gotta make him look like metal. Yeah, right. I gotta make him look like wood. Like the rope is tied. The rope around his neck. It's a rope. Oh yeah, he got that earring in there too. Oh yeah, I gotta remember. I gotta put in 5, not 6, not 4, but 5. The little things in there, always to keep it on model and stuff like that. So when I hear that somebody else is like, "Oh yeah, your character's fun to draw," I'm like, "Sweet."
all that to get to that. I appreciate
Right. So I appreciate that. So yeah, that was the question I wanted to ask. Like in terms of, when you think of other artists drawing your characters and that sort of thing, do you think of having a design or making sure? Well, you said you came out of your sketchbook when you were a kid and stuff like that. But you want to make sure, or do you make sure that at least your artists are having fun doing what they do?
I try to, and I ask them as we go along the process, hey, that looks good. Did you like what you drew? And for the most part, most of them are like, we love drawing your characters, we love playing in your universe. And I'm like, cool. That's all I want to hear. If an artist is happy drawing your character, you're doing at least part of your job correctly.
Right. The other part is paying them. But
how about that? Indeed.
Off top.
Indeed.
Right.
Definitely.
Got you. Cool. All right. Sorry, I just absconded with your question asking for a hot second, Brian. My bad.
I was just absorbing it. Look, I think we've all had stories. I got some of my own of, I don't know how many times I've had to send something back to a colorist. I'm like, darker. No, darker.
Yeah.
No, darker. Right. Like they're black. But I can't.
That's supposed to be light
somebody
blue,
else.
not purple. That's light blue, not purple.
You know what? Actually I had the reverse type of situation recently with a commission with one of my characters. It was more like, no, I need her lighter. Like I was thinking like, she's light skinned. Like my character Yemaya, she's a light skinned black woman. So with the person doing the piece and the colors, they were all great and stuff like that. But I'm like, she's a little dark. You know what I mean? Can you lighten her up? And I was like, think Journey Smollett. right? And I think like, in the future, when I have other people do stuff, and if they're coloring their own work, what I might have to do is just making sure, like I might just have to like throw out like actor shots, if you will, like in terms of skin tones for because when I color the Horsemen, right, I know what their palettes are. You know what I mean? Like I know that for instance, Shango and Obatala are darker skin. They are dark, you know, their skin tone is darker than Issues and Oyas, which is more of a, you know, cafe au lait, not cafe au lait, excuse me, more like a milk chocolate tone. You know what I'm saying? Oshun, in the rare moments when she's in her human form, she's a dark skinned woman. I know her tone. Ogun and Yemaya in their, well, Yemaya in her form, whatever, Ogun in his human form, they're light skinned black folk, right? Tying in that whole thing of inclusion and stuff like that, colorism, because it just doesn't work with me. Plus, the people that I based the Horsemen on, I based it on their skin tone. So yeah, I'm not going to change that. You know what I mean? So, but that was the thing that I had. It's like, okay, like I find like sometimes like the subtleties of dark skin, which is what I play with a lot. You know, that's one of the things that I have to, you know, maybe tell people more on when I don't do my own stuff, right?
Yeah. I've actually started putting in palettes on mine. You know what I mean? So I'll send my script to my artist. Don't get me wrong, my current art team, these guys are amazing. On every book we have right now, my current art team, they're dialed in. But when I get new people, send the script over and it's got the reference pages and the character sheets. And as opposed to like I used to just, you know, have small little swatches in the corner. Nah, man, they're getting a full pixelated box. Hey, this is the blue that we base everything
with the PMS color,
brown.
like I want PMS 35C.
Exactly, man.
Yeah,
for each piece. But if so, and I want you guys to expand on this as well, because again, you guys have been doing it longer than I have. Not our shelf life, but our ability to get someone to notice and get people to notice what we're doing is very, very slim. It's very, very short. And when I am in the company of people like you, people like Mike, when I came in, man, short fuse, like I heard that name a billion times. You know what I mean? I heard certain companies' names a billion times when I first started out. And when you come with subpar material, and we see it in the groups that we're in, somebody's like, "Oh, y'all didn't back my Kickstarter. Y'all, you know, y'all ain't really for the black cause and for the this and for the that." And you really want to just tell the person, like, "No, your book sucked," or like, "Your book sucked. You didn't have any promotion. It didn't make any sense. Just because you did it because you're black doesn't mean it's great." But at the same time, we are measured on a much harder scale. I have seen some horrific white books, right? And they still somehow make money. You do a horrific black book, it's not going anywhere, and we can be laughing in the private chat like we are now. So, I mean, those experiences, it's just like everything else in life. We got to work twice as hard to get half of the recognition, which obviously, you know, Falcon and the Winter Soldier played on. Obviously, your life, you know, told that story. All of you, you know, all of our lives has told that story. And so I think that it's a thing where we need to stick our feet in and say, "Hey, no, I need this blue." No, you don't know exactly what it is? Okay, then I'm gonna give you RGB. No problem. I'm gonna give you the exact color swatch. Okay, no, I'm gonna grab it from Adobe myself, and I'm just gonna tell you to put this palette in there. It's already named. You know, the Horseman palette. You know, or whatever. And I imagine that you guys have similar experiences with this creative process.
Yeah, you know, when I started in the business, I mean, I started in the mid '90s from undergrad, right? So I started well before this whole internet, you know, thing popped off, right? Like in the belly of the beast, you know what I'm saying? I'm coming out of the whole Milestone, Ania, you know what I mean? Vibe, right? Like I'm after those guys, you know what I'm saying? And if you think it's tough getting in now, actually now it's easier. It's easy to get it because of, again, print on demand, crowdfunding, blah blah blah. You know, with that being said, like I had seen good comics, I saw bad. Lord Jesus, I saw. You know what I mean? Like some bad stuff even then. And what's funny is that, you know, it goes back to what I was saying earlier about this business. See, for me, getting into comics, you know, I wanted to get into comics when I was 10 years old, right? Not a situation of like, oh, it'd be nice to get into comics. It's like, no, I knew at the age of 10, which was what, back in 1982, that's when I was 10 years old, that I wanted comic books to be my career because I knew I enjoyed drawing and I knew I enjoyed art from a very young age, right? And I'll say this to everybody, just to let y'all know, I'm a lucky ass dude because of the fact that I come from a family of artists. My dad's an architect. I come from people who understood, you know, the value of art and also the commerce of art, and also that you can make a career in art, right? So I didn't ever have to have that struggle with my family of like, oh, what are you doing? Oh, you wasting your time, blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? It was more like the argument I got from my mom is, why don't you get a job with Disney? That's the argument I got. You know what I mean? That sort of thing.
Yeah.
So with that being said, and me wanting to be a comic artist or comic creator from a young age, I studied the craft, right? Like when I picked up a comic book, I wasn't picking it up because like, oh, Batman's my guy, even though I love Batman, or Spider-Man's my guy. No, it's like, yo, is that the new John Byrne book I'm looking at? Let me pick that up. Is Howard Chaykin on that book? Let me pick that up. Is like, you know, Steve Rude on that book, like Nexus? Like, let me pick that up. So even as a young kid, I was already in the independent vein. You know what I mean? Because that was the stuff I was looking at. That was the stuff that I wanted to do, to be a comic book creator, right? So I was studying Frank Miller like people would study Hemingway. You know what I mean? I was studying cats like Bill Sienkiewicz like people would study Picasso or Van Gogh, that sort of thing, right? So when I came into the game and coming into the game, when Milestone dropped, when Brother Man dropped, when Tribe dropped, which still are kind of like the gold standard of that era, you know, for me, simply, it was like, I need to be like that. If I'm going to be successful at the worst, my joint has to look, feel, and read like a DC or Marvel comic book. And not just any DC or Marvel comic book, because again, in order to be the best, you have to study the best. You know what I mean? I'm like going for those unreachable goals, right? Like my art heroes aren't like Joe Mad or cats like that. My art heroes are dudes that had a command of anatomy and proportions and stuff like that. Like Jose Luis Garcia Lopez is my guy. You know what I'm saying? Like Brian Stelfreeze is like the guru, you know, for me. Like Steve Rude, like, you know, seeing how he constructed anatomy. John Byrne, George Perez, you know what I'm saying? Like those cats visually were the cats that I was reaching for, right? And then in the literary style, again, I'm looking at how cats write. You know what I mean? So it's like, I love, like for me, Christopher Priest, yeah, his Black Panther was seminal because Christopher Priest could write his ass off. Like I was like, oh, I peep your voice, right? Because every great writer has a distinct voice. And if you notice, like every great writer has a lane that they are real comfortable in the stuff that they write. You know what I mean? Like there's subject matter that they'll always go for. Like Neil Gaiman is always about the fantasy. He's always about the mythological. Warren Ellis is always about the hard science and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Howard Chaykin as a writer has always had this sardonic, you know, liberal, Jewish, leftist voice. You know what I'm saying? That sort of thing, right? And so, like, I studied that, you know what I mean? And I studied, like, the ticks and the rhythms and things of that nature. And I applied that to my own sensibility and my own work. You know what I mean? Not in terms of like I want my stuff to read like that, but more to the point of like, what's my voice? You know what I mean? Like, what is the stuff that I go back and forth with and that I'm addressing? You know what I mean? In my work. And in finding that, like, that's the, you know, again, that's part of that secret. You know what I mean? Like, everybody wants to know, what's the secret? What's the secret to making good comics? What's the secret to having a great fan base? What's the secret to this? What's the secret to success? The secret to success is you got to study the craft. And there's no shortcut in studying the craft, right? There's no magic pencil. There's no, like, you know, stylist. There's no program that's going to do what you can't do on your own, or what you haven't studied and understood and been able to flex on your own and make and create your own style, you know what I mean, based on the stuff that you learned or that you studied. And I think I talked so long, like Brian ain't even on the joint anymore. I don't know.
I think you'll step away for a minute. I think he'll be right back.
Yeah,
I agree with you. It's all about, well, I won't say all about. To be a success, you have to look at what has come before that was successful and incorporate that into your own makeup. But you can't think you're gonna reinvent the wheel because it's already been done. It's already been done. But just look what came before you that was successful, put your own spin on it and do your own thing with it. Yeah, I agree with you totally on that one.
Yeah, and that's, you know, and that's the thing too. Like, you know, I'm saying that because, you know, and in all honesty, like seeing all these cats online and stuff like that, and, you know, and having those discussions, it reminds me of the discussions that I had with myself. Okay. And they remind me of all of those discussions that if I wasted time having those discussions, I wouldn't have gotten anywhere.
Never would have did anything. So.
I wouldn't have done anything, right? Because those discussions are all based out of fear.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And they're trying to mitigate, you know what I mean, their fear as much as possible. And the fear is understandable because the fact is that in the creative fields and whatnot, I don't know if they understand this or not, but it's very true. You are being judged on an aspect of your soul.
Indeed.
You right? Like whenever you draw something, whenever you write something, that sort of thing, like if you're really feeling it, it's coming from the heart, you know what I mean? And you have a certain intention with it and that sort of thing, if you're doing it right. And the scariest thing is like to put that out there, to put that piece of your soul out there and be rejected, you know? And as an artist and as a working artist, that rejection also means that you don't eat. You know what I'm saying? And that can be very frightening. I mean, that is very frightening, right? Like we all know this, that is very frightening. But at a certain point, and especially for me, starting Griot Enterprises and starting the Horseman, you know, and even coming into the mix, knowing that at the time when I started it, you know, all those years and decades ago, I knew I wasn't the best artist in my opinion, right? I knew I wasn't necessarily the best writer in my opinion, judging myself on, you know, the creators that I admired and came before me, you know what I mean? And even, you know, art-wise, like trying to get little bits and pieces and mimic styles and stuff like that, you know. But that fear was outweighed by a greater fear of, if I don't make this happen, it will never happen.
Indeed.
You know what I'm saying?
Indeed.
So my fear of not accomplishing something outweighed the fear of what if people don't like it.
I put out a book that was, like I said, I put a little bit of myself in every book, but this one was something that was really important. I wrote a book for my daughter's birthday called Sunshine. And basically it was a story of me and my daughter. And I put that out there, and a couple people they trashed it big time, but it was something that I felt I needed to do. And then eventually it found a voice with certain people. And then there were people like, oh, that's dope, bro. That's deep. But it was something that I felt I had to do, and something I wanted to do for my daughter as a birthday present. But it was a story of me and my daughter, from her growing up to the relationship we had now. And it was something that was from the heart. But yeah, it was fear. I was like, man, do I put something this personal out there? Everybody gonna know it's me writing this story, and hopefully they feeling that it's as me. But I did it anyway. And like I said, some people didn't like it, some people did, but I had to do it. I did it.
Exactly. And that's the whole point of it. Like, that's like, I have learned throughout the years of doing this, and also the benefit of doing this from sort of an auteur standpoint, like I'm doing everything myself, that sort of thing. I learned that the only person that I have to satisfy when I'm creating is me.
Yep.
Like,
I have learned that
yeah, like the only person that when I'm doing this artwork for, and I'm doing this story for, as I'm doing it, so on and so forth, I'm doing the book that I did not see, right? And so I'm going to continue doing the book that I really haven't seen and whatnot. And, I want to do it. I always want to do not only that, but I always want to put the best product out there, right. The best product possible. Right. And so for me, for my quality control and whatnot, I'm also of the mindset of this, classic artist mindset, is that you're only as good as your last project. Yep. You know what I'm saying? So every time that I do a project, it's like I'm not resting on my laurels. You know what I mean? Like I'm trying to bang every time. You know what I mean? I always tell cats that, I'm looking for my comic book version of Songs in the Key of Life. That's what I'm looking at.
Okay.
I'm looking to make my Songs in the Key of Life, or you know what I mean, or my Low End Theory. You know what I mean?
Right.
Of comics, you know what I'm saying? Or my Parade, or my, Sign of the Times. I put it in I do partly look at the comic book game as the music game, right? So again, while other cats are talking about like, oh, I want to put out a monthly book. Why do you want to put out a monthly book? You can't afford to put out a monthly book. That don't make no damn sense. Yeah. You're not DC or Marvel, right?
Different game.
Right. So what I look at when I do books and stuff like that, I look at them as albums, right? I look at them as album releases. So 4 pages, 16 bars, for example, right? You could call that the compilation series. You know what I'm saying? It is a visual mixtape, right? I'm there. That's to promote. That's to build up the community. That's to spread the word of the Black comics community as a whole, a community that I am a part of. You know what I mean? On the flip side, the Horseman, that's me being Prince. That's me doing, playing the 17 instruments myself. That's me, you know what I'm saying? Like in the production studio, like putting it all together so that when that comes out, you know what I mean? I know you love the compilations, and I'm glad that you love the compilations, but this is my next release right here. You know what I'm saying? So that's just my.
Well, what a way to close it out, gentlemen. I've finished the piece. I hope you like it.
Love it, bro.
I do. She is definitely giving you those hands.
Yeah.
Hands are being thrown.
She's taking it too.
But don't sleep on Ether's cocking it back too. He's cocking it
back too. He's cocking it back. I'm just saying. It does look like an easy win on either end. You know what I mean?
Right.
Ammo.
It's
So I
gonna be
want to.
fun writing this battle. I promise you that.
Right. It's you know what will be funny in writing that battle is if you could show that scene again, but that's kind of like Oya doing like the windmill hands, like when kids like
Him trying to fight it all.
yeah, exactly. I might, you know what? I might incorporate windmill hands into like next Oya story. Yes. Somebody's getting windmill hands.
Well, I want to thank you two gentlemen for coming on to the show and dropping all the jewels that you did. I feel like this was a great conversation. Shout out and thanks to Brian for coming on here, helping with the co-hosting duties. It was a heavy chair to lift because drawing both of these characters within this time limit was very challenging, and I got to focus on that because Brian took over the chair for me, and I appreciate that.
You did it, bro. You did it. I want to
really did, man.
For allowing this battle to happen. To you, Mike, Brent, Brian, for moderating. Thank you guys for involving us and having comics in it. And like I said, man, it just means the world to me to have something like this go on where I can be with somebody who I look at is one of my OGs. But Andrew Batts.
Wow, thank you.
Pelt. I mean, these brothers are doing their thing, man. So
That's what's up.
Thank you. Like, yeah, for real. Like, thank you guys for having me, for being a part of this. I'm telling you, man, like starting out, and it's been from me just getting up in the game. One of my goals was to see a world where Black creators come together, know each other, and collaborate on some real stuff. Not on that we need to build a new comic book company. Like real collaborations. And honestly, walking this path and seeing the evolution of it, I want to say this, fellas, like, let's get out of the whole struggle mentality of like, oh, we need to have like, we're building stuff like that. Man, we are in the middle of a whole sub industry, yo.
Yeah.
Like this is a whole, like, for real. And I've been saying this all year. I'm gonna keep saying it. Like, straight up, this is like hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
This is the community. You know what I'm saying? Like from all over the place, from all over the world, literally, right? And I wish some cats would stop trying to say we need to find this. I wish that they would just open up their third eye a little bit. You know what I mean? Or just turn their head to the left or turn their head to the right. You know what I'm saying? Because, we're knee deep in this. You know what I mean? I mean, we're here. We're not here talking about making comics. Like, we've all
doing it.
We all are working creators. We are all working Black creators, right? None of us have done stuff for DC. None of us have done stuff for Marvel. And you know what? It doesn't even matter. You know what I'm saying? It totally doesn't matter because we've been getting this stuff out there and we've been paying some bills with this. You know what I'm saying? So, like, we're legit. You know what I mean? And I wish some of our own people would realize how legit we are. I'm not worried about anybody else because, to be honest with you, other people are getting it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just saying for my fan base, like, other people get it. So, like that whole question, or people talk, where I see them talk about like, oh, how do I get a mainstream audience, blah, 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 that sort of thing, trying to mitigate the fear. It's like, you know what? You won't have a fan unless you put something out there.
Yeah.
And flat out, it better be good.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
I like in where we are right now, the 88 hip hop. Everybody is coming with some bangers right now.
You know what? It is 88 hip hop right now. It is. It totally is.
It's people coming with the heat, and people who say, "Oh, Black people ain't doing it" or whatever. Look around you, because I see so many talented brothers and sisters just coming with it, and it's amazing. And I'm happy to be part of this time, to be able to be a fan at this time. So Keep up the good work.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah, amen to that.
It come with
Amen.
different material too. You know what I mean?
All right, gentlemen, you guys, man, Mike, I don't know what we're gonna do for the next episode because this bar is set super damn high.
It is.
But obviously, you guys, we're gonna get some colors on this piece for you guys. You'll get a write up. You guys will have this chat and draw Mike Watson original. You'll get some words that I'll pen for you guys, and I know, like myself, I know Mike's looking forward to it, and we're I don't know, man, we're proud to represent what we get to here.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Thank you guys for doing this. Appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you for letting us play in y'all's world tonight with your characters and stuff, and getting to showcase them out here on this platform. I've just enjoyed the entire conversation and getting to know more about these characters. I've always said, while I'm drawing these characters, the art tends to change because I'm learning more about the creator and the character as I'm laying it down. So absolutely appreciate it. Again, big shout out to Indie Comics Dispatch for partnering up with me for doing this. Shout out to Brian for hosting and even bringing up the idea of us linking together. Check these gentlemen out. Follow them on social media, guys. We're going to close this one up. And I guess this was a great first shot in the Indie Comics Throwdown. And Brian's right. The bar is set. I have no idea how we're going to top it, but we're going to try. We're going to try today.
Yeah.
Looking forward to seeing more.
Yeah, most definitely. Most definitely.
Good night, everybody.
I think that I should ask Mr. Watson. I think that I should ask Mr. Watson.